The Indonesian government continues to make preparations as Indonesia is set to host the Group of 20 or G20 summit in 2022. The coordinating Minister of Economic Affairs Airlangga Hartarto affirmed that President Joko Widodo has appointed numerous ministers to be the head of various G20 committees. He also assured that hosting the G20 summit in 2022 will bring plenty of benefit to Indonesia itself. Other than providing economic benefit through the event, Airlangga said that Indonesia will also play a key role in designing the post-pandemic global economic recovery plan. And to discuss more about Indonesia to host G20 in 2022, we'll talk with Head of Economics Department of CSIS Indonesia, Yose Rizal Damuri. Hi, Pak Yose.
Hi, good evening, early evening.
Hi, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Let's talk about the G20 Summit 2022. Is arguably one of the most important gatherings which will be held in the era of post-pandemic recovery. Everybody's saying so. So tell us about the significance of next year's G20 and how can Indonesia optimize its role as host of this summit?
Okay, I think there are at least 2 points that make next year's G20 become more significant, both to Indonesia and also to the global economy. First, next year will be a turning point for the economic recovery. Especially when health issue has become more under control, and countries around the globe can start to focus more on the economic recovery. At that time, the recovery became more certain and the economy started to take off. And we need better directions on how to deal with the subsequent or the following issues that might come up during the recovery process. It can include how to choose or how to deal with the exit strategy from this current heavily fiscal support economy, when the fiscal support that currently dominate the economy should be withdrawn. How to maintain fiscal stability, for example. Also, the problems such as debt burden, for example, as well as how to deal with the currently accelerated digital transformations. Those kind of things need to have a better directions, and G20, next year G20 can provide those directions. The second one, next year G20 will also be the first G20 process led by developing countries after 4 years. So given the current global context, Indonesia would play an important role to promote developing countries' interests and also to set the goals for better post-pandemic era for these developing countries. I think Indonesia really has good positions in pushing those two agenda and to make the G20 process more concrete and deliver concrete actions.
Yeah. The coordinating Minister of Economy, Airlangga Hartarto, also said that this will be a chance for Indonesia to lead the design of the global economic recovery plan. How do you think Indonesia will go about doing this? What can Indonesia really bring to the table, Pak Yose?
Yeah, the big team. Indonesia currently try to propose a big team for G20 next year G20. It's called Recover Together, Recover Stronger. I think it is nicely placed in the current global economic context. The team should be translated into actionable measure, actionable initiative. Indonesia has tried to bring bring it up into three pillars. First, promoting productivity. The second, increasing resilience and stability. And the third one, ensuring sustainable and inclusive growth. It seems that all those the pillars and the big themes are big words. You cannot really easily understand what is inside those words. But if Indonesia can promote those agenda and also to push some commitments to support those ideals, I think Indonesia already can contribute a lot, not only to more quality and better recovery, but also to create more conducive global environment, global economic environment for our own economic development in the post-pandemic era.
Okay. But Yose, but from your perspective, how do you assess the impact of G20 summits so far? Do they really bring benefit to the global economy, or is there some aspect still lacking, do you think?
Well, as I mentioned before, G20 currently tend to bring the big team and big words into their agenda. It is quite understandable because G20 has evolved from a crisis response process in 2008, for example, and up to 2010, when global economy were facing a global financial crisis. The G20 has evolved into an agenda setting for global economic environment. Of course, it is quite beneficial to actually provide directions on global economic development agenda, but it also limits the focus and the resources and attentions of G20, since there are too many areas that need to be in their considerations. It also makes G20 becomes too big, too large to react appropriately, especially on the emerging issues. Yeah. Like, for example, last year in 2020, G20 did not respond sufficiently, in my opinion, to the emerging health and economic crisis due to the pandemic. The situation was totally different when G20 countries faced Asian global financial crisis in 2008, when G20 focused in just one thing, dealing with the global financial crisis. Now they have to deal with a lot of issues that had been carried out even before the crisis. So that makes them a bit difficult to maneuver or to react sufficiently on the emerging issues. That's why many
hopefully maybe
parties
next year,
actually,
next year will provide another opportunity, well, hopefully next year there'll be more space or more opportunity for these G20 countries to really talk and discuss and find a solution to the developing problems. You mentioned earlier that perhaps some of these agendas, some of these goals that have been set throughout the G20 summits are far too ambitious, and that we need to refocus and focus on what's important, what's needed to be done right now. So where do you think should we focus on? What are the agendas, the important issues that should be solved in the short term? Like, let's say we have two main framework, the finance and the non-finance. In terms of the finance track, take us through some of the problems that we need to tackle right now.
Okay, before going into the more specific finance track, I think G20 also need to focus more on the aspects, on the areas that global cooperation is needed. So G20 do not really need to pay attention on things on areas that can be done or can be solved at the national level or domestic level. So just focus on where the cooperation is needed. The first one, of course, is very related to the financial issues. How to maintain financial stability and to improve financial resilience. That's going to be a very important issue that G20 need to address next year. Currently, we look at the current development, such as how the debt crisis or debt burden from debt, especially in developing countries, is increasing. We also see that there is a chance for unbalanced recovery, where developed countries started the recovery earlier than other parts of the world, both of less developed countries and also emerging markets. So in the finance track, how to maintain stability, how to increase resilience. This is where G20 needs to pay more attention for the immediate measures. But of course, we also need to pay attention on the longer issues, which is need global cooperation, which is how to deal with the global climate change. How the financial sector can also be pushed to promote the mitigation and adaptations of global climate change issues. That kind of things need to be under the G20 agenda, in my opinion.